On your side in Southeast Louisiana, this is WDSU News at 5.
Righting the ship back in the Dome. The black and gold are back home, looking to salvage a season on life support.
Plus, Saints on 6 analysts Cam Jordan and Kenny Stills' personal ties to Green Bay, why this game means a little more for each player, and their keys to success against the Packers.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the NFL, how Saints fans are in the spirit of giving back during the month of October.
Those stories, plus your news, traffic, and weather. Get ready. Saints on 6 starts right now.
Get ready. Come on, y'all. Get ready to make some noise as the black and gold rises up and we stand behind them boys. It's a countdown to a celebration for the whole Who That Nation. So let's play it true. See them through on WDSU. Black and gold nation, let's go. Say black and gold. Black and gold. Black and gold.
You're taking a live look at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome on a beautiful Sunday in New Orleans. The Saints looking to get the season back on track in about 2.5 hours.
The black and gold are coming off another heartbreaking loss to the Lions and are gearing up for another tough NFC North night in the Dome.
Tonight's matchup pits the 5-2 Green Bay Packers against the 2-4 New Orleans Saints in a prime-time NFC showdown. And we welcome you to our WDSU Saints on 6 Cox Countdown to Kickoff coverage. I'm Fletcher Mackel, joined alongside sports anchor Sharif Ishak and former Saints head coach Jim Mora. Coach, great to have you in New Orleans tonight.
Glad to be back, as always, Fletch and Sharif, and looking forward to the game tonight. It's going to be a great game. The Saints need this one at home where they're tough. Green Bay playing as well as any team in the NFC.
And Coach Moore is one of the most successful coaches in team history. He led the Saints to 93 victories over 11 seasons, more wins than any other Saints coach. Coach Moore also led the Saints to their first 4 playoff games and to their first ever division title in 1991.
And we've got team coverage of tonight's big game later in the show. Sula Kim and Scott Walker sit down with our Saints on 6 analysts Cam Jordan and Kenny Stills. Also, my brother, WDSU reporter Travers Mackel, goes behind enemy lines with our sister station in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
And we have Randy Russo live in the Superdome. She talks to NBC Sports' Hines Wards about tonight's game and also looks at a few groups of Saints fans making their mark in the community during the month of October. Plus, we've got you covered with your latest headlines, weather, and traffic back in the studio. All right, Coach, Sean Payton, the player, said this is an important game, but is it a must-win game?
Too early in the season for it to be a must-win, plus the fact that their division is a shambles right now. Nobody's playing worth a darn, so they still got a chance to win the darn championship, even if they lost tonight, which they're not going to. You'll find out from my prediction later on, but it's an important game, mainly for the team's psyche, their confidence, momentum. They need this win.
You alluded to the NFC South. Are you surprised this division has been this bad this early in the season?
Yeah, last year was pretty darn good. Carolina won it. They were playing good. Tampa Bay was supposed to be better with Lovie Smith coming in there as the head coach. The Saints were supposed to be really good this year. Atlanta last year, they were terrible. Everybody thought that was unusual because it was. Now all 4 of them, none of them are playing that good. So yeah, it's surprising to me.
All right, more with Coach in just 1 minute. Tonight's game is a battle of streaks. One team can't lose in October. The other team can't lose on Sunday nights.
And as Fletcher said, Coach, something's going to give tonight. But how much can this home field advantage, this crowd, really get underneath Aaron Rodgers' skin? Because, you know, he's doing well. How could that crowd play a big factor in this game?
Well, I don't think it's going to get underneath Aaron Rodgers' skin. I mean, he's too much of a pro and too successful and has been over the years to let this happen. But I think the Dome has been very helpful to the Saints. They've won 10 in a row here, 18 in a row since Sean Payton's been the head coach. So it's been very productive and successful for the Saints, and should again tonight. You know, the crowd is awesome. The Packers are used to playing in loud noises, loud stadiums, things like that. But I think it's going to help the Saints tonight as it has in the past.
All right, guys, the Saints will need a big game tonight from their defensive line that includes Saints on 6 analyst Cam Jordan. And Jordan knows a thing or two about the Green Bay Packers. Cam's dad played for NFC North rival Minnesota for 12 years, so it's a little extra incentive for the 4-year veteran. So far this season, Cam Jordan has 15 tackles, 1 sack, and 3 passes defended. He also knows a familiar face in Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Cam sat down with us to discuss going against the most famous Cal Bear alum.
The last couple years of high school, I was pretty much watching him at Cal, and just watching him, you understand what a great quarterback he is, and how he learned from one of the best quarterbacks to do it, in Brett Favre, who I never got the chance to sack. It's been my dream, because I grew up hating cheeseheads. Like, oh, cheeseheads, ugh. I'd love nothing more than to cause a sack, or hit Aaron Rodgers with a nice sack, maybe strip him, and possibly run it in on him, like running for a good touchdown. But that's just my ideal situation. I love going up against former teammates. That's always a great thing. And when you're talking about going up against somebody like Aaron Rodgers, who has the notoriety that he's had, who's won a Super Bowl, who's done all the great things, and has been a great quarterback since he's taken the field, you always like to put yourself up against that. They always get it done. They have a pretty great defense. A couple veteran players, of course, with Jay Pep over there, Julius Peppers, and you got Clay Matthews, of course, that everybody's aware of. We have to be on our A game. We have to be on all full cylinders, and that's what I expect.
That is Cam Jordan, and later on in the show, we're going to hear more from our other Saints on 6 analyst, Kenny Stills. But for now, let's head inside the Dome to WDSU anchor Randy Russo with one of the best receivers in recent memory and Super Bowl 40 MVP Hines Ward for his thoughts on tonight's matchup. Randy?
Thanks, guys. Now, Hines, you actually played here in the Superdome. Primetime matchup, Halloween night of 2010. Talk about the ambiance in the Superdome, the fans, how loud it can get. Does that play a factor when it comes to opposing teams?
Oh, no question about it. I mean, this atmosphere is electric, and the crowd is going to be loud. They're going to be amped up, and Halloween comes a week earlier here and playing in the Dome. But seeing all the fans dressed up in the voodoo outfits, and it's extremely loud, even during the TV timeouts, because, you know, being on the sideline, it makes it hard to communicate. So that's something that I think Green Bay really has to deal with when they're playing in the game tonight, of dealing with the crowd noise and communicating, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Let's talk about injuries. You know, the Saints have a few injured players that may play a factor. Jimmy Graham, one of those who had a shoulder injury during the Tampa game. They kind of used him as a decoy a little bit during Detroit's game, during that matchup. What kind of role does he need to play in this game, and do they need to use him more in order to win?
Well, he definitely needs to have a bigger role down in the red zone area just because of his size itself. You know, he's a matchup problem, but probably on the field, maybe use him as a decoy, especially on third down. But me knowing Jimmy Graham, he wants to go out there and play, so he's going to give it all he has. And when he's out there on the football field, it's all about trust. And Drew Brees has a lot of trust in Jimmy Graham. So I still, even though he's injured, I still look for him to make some big plays tonight.
Now, Drew Brees has been scrutinized recently, a lot of interceptions. We saw that during the Detroit matchup. What does he need to do tonight to make those plays and to have that game changer when it comes to this matchup against the Packers?
Well, he's an elite quarterback, and all elite quarterbacks that go through a little spurt where they trying too much and trying to do too much with the football. But to offset that, you need to have a running game. And I think if the Saints can come out and run the ball better and take a little pressure off Drew Brees so he doesn't feel pressure to make all the throws, I think if they can somehow, some way find balance, I think Drew Brees will have a big game tonight.
Hines Ward, thank you so much for joining us. And Football Night in America airs immediately following Saints on 6. We'll see you right back here in just a few minutes.
Coming up on our Cox Saints on 6 countdown to kickoff coverage. After starting the season 1-2, Aaron Rodgers has turned Green Bay's season around. How the Packers quarterback helped fans face their fears of missing the playoffs. Plus, our experts look at all the problems facing New Orleans and if they can rebound from such a slow start tonight against the Green Bay Packers. Today's Cox Saints on 6 countdown to kickoff coverage is brought to you by Cox. now available with 2 times faster internet speeds. Jefferson Parish Sheriff Newell Normand reminding you to drop that phone. Don't text and drive. Nissan. Choose Nissan.com. Al Sanchez Construction. Don't settle for being unleveled. The New Orleans Advocate. Get all your news delivered to your door 7 days a week. Fest Cola, New Orleans' original craft soda. And
Dixie RV Superstores, helping you retire one weekend at a time.
you're watching the Cox Saints on 6 countdown to kickoff coverage on WDSU.
You're taking a live look right now at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, where in about 2 hours, the Saints will put their perfect home primetime record at stake against the Green Bay Packers.
Welcome back, everyone. If the Saints are going to be successful this evening, they'll have to find a way to contain or at least slow down a streaking Aaron Rodgers. He is red hot right now.
Yeah, Fletcher, just as you said, Rodgers is on fire lately. The Green Bay quarterback has completed 66% of his passes so far this year. He's thrown for almost 1,700 yards through 7 games with 18 touchdowns and 1 interception. That's why he is our Lexus driver of the game.
RELAX.
Okay.
Relax.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to be okay.
Ever since Aaron Rodgers tossed out that magic word, the Packers have been more than okay.
All right, Coach Moore, let's talk about not only Aaron Rodgers, but his top 2 receivers, Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb, because they're having fantastic seasons as well. Your thoughts on all 3 of those guys?
Well, Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb are benefiting from the season that Aaron Rodgers is having. He's having, I think, probably the best season up to this point of his career, which has been a pretty darn impressive career. You mentioned the 18 touchdowns, 1 interception in the first 7 games. He's the first quarterback in NFL history. Okay, you got that? NFL history to do something like that. So in the last 6 games, he's thrown 17 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That interception came in the very first game of the season. So Aaron Rodgers is having a terrific year. And Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb lead the league. 14 touchdown passes that they've caught between the 2 of them. That's best in the NFL up to this point. They benefit. Now, they're good, don't get me wrong, but they benefit from the year that Aaron Rodgers is having.
And guys like Keenan Lewis, Kenny Vaccaro, Patrick Robinson, Corey White, some young guys are going to have, obviously, their hands full tonight. Keenan Lewis being the veteran guy. Do you think a guy like Champ Bailey, had he kept them around, it would have been helpful for this team when they go in a game like this or for the season?
I don't think so, and I certainly wouldn't second-guess Sean Payton's decision to cut Champ Bailey. Champ Bailey's basically over the hill. He's not the Champ Bailey. Well, he is. Is he playing for anybody? I don't think so. So is there 32 dumb coaches in the league? No. They know what they're talking about. They know who they want out there. The guy couldn't, he wasn't able to play like he used to be able to play at his prime of his career. So, no, you're laughing. But the guy wasn't quite there. They don't need him. They got young guys, talented guys. They just got to get better. That's all. They got to play better.
I was going to say, the Saints have given up a lot of big plays. Green Bay has produced a lot of big plays. Can you coach against that? Is it possible to coach a team to play better, to prevent big plays, or is it just sound technique, communicate better, do the right things?
It's the right defense, playing there. If you're playing to stop the big plays, that helps. But you got to have the people to play that defense and to be able to do that. And if you don't have them, then you better call defenses that help you in that regard. But these guys, especially Jordy Nelson, are really good at making the long touchdown catch.
All right, Coach Jim Moore, it's a beautiful Sunday here in New Orleans. As we go to break, we're going to take a live look at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Saints-Packers getting ready for kickoff in about 2 hours. Stay with us, everybody. Saints on 6 continues after this break.
4 losses, a lackluster defense, and numerous injuries. We look at all the factors affecting the Saints' 2-4 start and how they can turn things around against the Green Bay Packers. Plus, fans of the black and gold giving back during the month of October. We talked to 2 groups of fans committed to supporting the community and cheering on the Saints. Today's Cox Saints on 6 countdown to kickoff coverage is brought to you by Cox. Now available with 2 times faster internet speeds. Jefferson Parish Sheriff Newell Normand reminding you to drop that phone. Don't text and drive. Nissan. Choose Nissan.com. Al Sanchez Construction. Don't settle for being unleveled. The New Orleans Advocate. Get all your news delivered to your door 7 days a week. Fest Cola, New Orleans original craft soda. And
Dixie RV Superstores, helping you retire one weekend at a time.
you're watching the Cox Saints on 6 countdown to kickoff coverage on WDSU.
A beautiful day in New Orleans for some football. You're taking a live look at the Superdome on this lovely Sunday afternoon. Welcome back to our Cox Saints on 6 countdown to kickoff coverage. The Saints are a dismal 2-4 overall, and everyone is asking what's wrong with the black and gold. So let's start with the defense.
Yeah, the team hasn't been able to close out games that were very, very winnable versus the Falcons. Matt Ryan completed a 21-yard pass to Devin Hester with 40 seconds left. That helped Atlanta ultimately tie and win the game in overtime. In Cleveland, Brian Hoyer hit a wide-open Andre Hawkins with 13 seconds left to set the Browns up for a game-winning field goal. And of course, last week in Detroit, the Saints led the Lions 23-10 with 5 minutes left and allowed 2 touchdowns to ultimately lose the game. Saints offensive lineman Zach Strief says it all boils down to focusing on the small things.
I think the perception sometimes from the outside in is that there's big issues to fix, and there's just not. It's little things, and it's starting all the way down. Look, we're going to start every meeting on time. We're going to do everything right. We're going to run on off the field. We're going to do all the little things because we're losing games at the end. And you're saying, obviously it looks big on the scoreboard, and yet the breakdowns are small. And we're not going to allow that little stuff to go on anymore. It's got to start little, and we think that it's going to add up big for us.
And Coach, another big problem this season has been, can't believe I'm saying it, this is Drew Brees. He's thrown some very untimely interceptions, one against the Browns, last week against the Lions. Do you think these are such a big deal, and what's going on with Drew this season with all these bad interceptions?
Yeah, it's a big deal. I don't know how bad they are, but they've been coming at critical times. He's thrown 7. Now, that's a little bit not typical of Drew. There's only 3 quarterbacks or 3 teams in the NFL that have thrown more than 7 interceptions up to this point. A few have also thrown 7. But I think the big thing with Drew, and everybody expects so much of Drew Brees. I mean, the standard for him is so high that they need to say, wait a minute, relax. You know, he's going to be okay. He's a great player. He has been, and he's continued to be. But I think when he threw him and where he threw him, I think, you know, the situation, et cetera, I think that's been the toughest point for the Saints and for Drew Brees.
What do you tell a player like Drew Brees who wants all that pressure, who wants to carry this team, to maybe don't feel like you have to carry this team so much? Is that a hard conversation a coach potentially has to have with a player, saying let everybody do their jobs? Don't feel like you have to make every single play every single game.
Well, you know, as experienced as Drew is, you still have to sit down and maybe have a conversation about that with him, because he is such a competitor and he wants to win so bad, and he works so hard to be good and to be a winner, that he'll take a chance sometimes and throw it in there when maybe he shouldn't, and that might be part of the problem. I don't know what Drew Brees is thinking or what the situation's been, but that could be a problem. A lot like Brett Favre. Brett Favre used to throw a lot of interceptions at situations that he shouldn't throw them because he was such a competitor. He said, I can get that sucker in there, and he'd do it, but sometimes it gets picked off. Drew might be in that situation right now.
All right, Coach, tremendous insight. Thank you very much. Now, for more on the Green Bay Packers and how they match up with the New Orleans Saints, let's go to my brother, WDSU reporter Travers Mackel. He went behind enemy lines with our colleagues in Wisconsin. Thanks, guys. Joined by Dan Needles, sports director at our sister station WISN in Milwaukee. Dan, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Looking forward to this one.
All right, let's just jump right to it. All Saints fans remember 2011 Mark Ingram getting stuffed by the Packers defense in the season opener. Can they stop Mark Ingram? We know the Packers defense has been, if you will, susceptible to the run this season.
It has, and they're no longer last in the NFL in rush defense, and so there's plenty of celebration in Green Bay over that.
All right, Dan Needles, sports director at WISN in Milwaukee. Let's go back inside the Mercedes-Benz Superdome to anchor Randy Russo.
Well, you know, Travers, speaking of those Green Bay Packers fans, in addition to all of the black and gold that we see here inside the Superdome, also seeing a lot of green. Green Bay well represented right now in the Superdome. A lot of fans along the streets of New Orleans. But another color that you're going to see here in the Superdome tonight, pink. As you know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so a lot of players out here on the field are going to be wearing things like pink gloves, pink wristbands, even pink on their shoes. Now, the NFL has done a really great job at promoting breast cancer awareness, and that has reached some very good Saints fans in the Who Dat Nation. The 5-0 Tailgaters is a group of police officers who support the Saints, and this month they decided to help out in the community and sell pink 5-0 tailgate shirts to their members. They hope to raise about $500 for the Susan G. Komen Foundation, and their inspiration came straight from the football field.
And you see everybody else wearing pink, and athletes are wearing pink, so we're like, why can't we do something? So it was a great idea.
And the 5-0 Tailgaters aren't the only ones giving back today. Right now, local rock band Better Than Ezra is on stage at Walk-On's right outside their Superdome for their annual charity tailgate. Now, we got a chance to catch up with the bassist Tom Drummond for more on why they do this, who they give the money to, and how it all helps the New Orleans community.
I got to be honest, I never thought that I'd be here doing this, you know, heading up a foundation that's raised over almost $500,000 now. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think of rock bands in this position, but, you know, Katrina sort of changed a lot of things for people, and it just made me have a sense that, you know, if we could help, we should. And so things need to change. If we can do a little bit to help, that's where we're coming from. This tailgate event we did last year, it sold out really quickly. And so we decided to take it up a step. And we do this, you know, because it needs to be done in New Orleans. We're doing this for Bethune Elementary. We're doing this in conjunction with Music Cares, which is the Grammys foundation arm. We're hoping to do some really big things with them down the road. So we just figure if people have a good time at our events, they kind of forget that they're at a charity event, that you know, that's a great thing. And I think we've been real successful at doing that.
And speaking of a good time and speaking of concerts, the 4th annual Gleason Gras was held Friday night in Champion Square. Former Saints team captain Steve Gleason is battling ALS, as you know, and the event helps to raise money for awareness for the disease. Now, 6 local bands entertained concert goers, and many Saints and Pelican players turned out to show their support. Anthony Davis even tried his hand at a little freestyle action on stage. It was a lot of fun, great crowd. And you know, the good news for the Saints tonight, Gleason Gras, all the black and gold games are undefeated in games following Gleason Gras. So again, the black and gold undefeated in games following Gleason Gras. In 2011, they beat the New York Giants. In 2012, it was the Philadelphia Eagles. And last year, it was the Saints opener. They beat the Atlanta Falcons 23-17. So we're hoping that tradition continues tonight when the Saints take on the Green Bay Packers here in the Superdome. Now, if you're still trying to make your way out to the game right now, let's toss things over to Susan Isaacs for a check of how traffic is shaping up right now.
It's your Who Dat game day traffic. Kickoff is for 7:30 tonight. Congestion, you're going to find lots of it on I-10 to US 90B if you're headed downtown. Also, the Superdome exit ramps and the I-10 to Poitras ramps are going to be packed, so you may want to consider an alternate such as Tulane Avenue. Now, another area that's going to be packed is Dome parking, and it's pretty pricey too, starting at $30, so you definitely want to consider an alternative such as Harrah's. That's a good little parking garage you may want to do. It's a little journey, so make sure you pack your comfy shoes to make that walk, but Dome parking fills up quickly and around downtown area. That's your time saver traffic with me, Susan Isaacs. Have a great Sunday and enjoy the game. Who Dat.
Working to get back into the end zone against a tough Packers defense. Hear from new Saints on 6 analyst and Saints wide receiver Kenny Stills about finding the end zone in prime time against Green Bay. Plus, it's been 5 years since the Saints last beat the Packers. Find out who our analysts are picking to win tonight in the Dome. You're watching the Cox Saints on 6 countdown to kickoff coverage on WDSU.
It's a beautiful day in downtown New Orleans, and in less than 2 hours, the Saints will try to make it an even better evening with a win against the Green Bay Packers.
And to get that win, the Saints are going to need a big game out of the running backs, and that includes fourth-year veteran Mark Ingram, who returned to the lineup last week against the Lions from a broken hand. So far this season, Ingram has 34 carries for 159 yards and 3 touchdowns. And with workhorse Pierre Thomas out, Ingram knows he'll have to carry the load. That's why he's our second Lexus driver of the game.
Offensively, the Saints usually go as Drew Brees goes.
And it's just not Mark Ingram that needs to get it going. Travaris Cadet has to step it up, especially with no Kyrie Robinson. As we said, Pierre Thomas, both guys are out for tonight's game. Fletcher, is this Cadet's time to shine?
I really believe it is. I love Travaris Cadet. He made this team as an undrafted player in 2012. He started his career as a quarterback at Appalachian State before moving to wide receiver and then running back. He has 3 carries for 10 yards this season. He has 16 receptions for 134 yards and 1 touchdown. Pierre Thomas is the best running back in the NFL, catching passes out of the backfield, but I think Travaris Cadet will do a nice job filling in for Pierre Thomas because that is where he excels. Now, I will pass the question along to Coach. Coach, the Saints have the 13th ranked rushing attack in the NFL. How important is it for them to establish the run against, dare I say, Dom Capers' Swiss cheese rush defense?
You knew that would get to me, didn't you, because of Dom, huh?
Dom was on Jim Mora's staff here in New Orleans.
And he's an excellent defensive coach.
He is indeed.
They're 19th in the league. Total defense. They're 6th against the pass, which is the best thing the Saints do, but they're 31st against the run. And this, if the Saints are going to do something special tonight, even though they're a little light on running backs, they're going to get Mark Ingram the football, block people up front, and run that football. That'll keep Aaron Rodgers and Nelson and Cobb and those guys on the sideline, use up some clock time, get good field position. So it's important that no matter what the running back situation is, that they try to establish the run early and have some success doing it. And I think they can against the 31st worst rushing defense in the National Football League up to this point.
All right, guys, another important piece of the Saints offense will be receiving core. That includes Saints on 6 analysts and Saints receiver Kenny Stills. After missing the first game against the Falcons, Stills has caught 15 passes for 244 yards and a touchdown that came last week against the Lions. Stills sat down with WDSU anchor Scott Walker to discuss his personal ties to the Cheesehead and facing the tough Packers defense.
All right, thank you very much, Kenny. Green Bay is a place that's a little bit close to your heart. Your dad played for the Packers years ago.
Yep. Yeah. No, my dad played there for 5 years, played safety, and you know, I was taken there as a little kid, but I don't remember it. For the most part, it's just business.
What has he talked about over the years about the Packers and playing in that stadium and being part of that tradition, that lore of the Green Bay Packers?
I feel like most of our conversations have been about the Lambeau Leap just because I play offense, and so, you know, just when I was younger, envisioning, you know, playing for the Packers and being a little kid and being a Packer fan, and so, you know, now I try to bring that, you know, to New Orleans, and last year I jumped into the stands and had a little fun with it.
So if you were to score a touchdown in this game, would you do an obligatory Lambeau Leap into the Superdome stands?
Nah.
As a nod to your dad, maybe?
Maybe. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. Talk about the challenges that the Packers present. Their defense with Clay Matthews in the middle there, obviously a tough group. They've had their ups and downs, but largely week in, week out, you can count on that being a solid group that presents a lot of challenges, especially for a guy like you.
Yeah, you know, they're playing very well, and like you said, Clay Matthews is back there, and they put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and they're sound, and so we know that we have to go into the game sound ourselves and be prepared to make some big plays.
Describe the evolution of yourself as an NFL wide receiver as you head into this game.
You know, I just feel like that extra year has given me a lot more responsibility on this offense, and also been able to make me more comfortable, and so I'm just having a good time out there, and you know, I'm not thinking as much. I'm out there just playing and let my ability take over.
When you watch a guy like Aaron Rodgers, do you see similarities to Drew Brees? Do you see some of the things that they do alike?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I feel like Aaron Rodgers is one of those top-tier quarterbacks, and all of them do things that are very similar. Peyton, Drew, you know, Andrew Luck coming up. They all look very similar, and so we expect, you know, a pretty high-flying game, a high-flying offense from them.
I know you play obviously on the offensive side of the ball, but when Aaron Rodgers is back there. What kind of challenges does he present as a quarterback when he's going against an opposing defense?
They've got a ton of weapons on their side, and so, you know, he can spread the ball out to them. He throws a great ball. You know, watching them play all the time. You know, the guys don't have to break stride in what they're doing. They're out there getting open, and the ball hits them right in the hand. So he presents a lot of problems for our defense, but, you know, I have a lot of confidence in our guys to go out there and stop him.
All right, best of luck to you. Kenny Stills, Saints wide receiver. We appreciate the time.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott. Going all the way back to the inception of the franchise, the Saints didn't have a very good history against the Packers, but there's some good news. The Saints have not lost to the Packers in the Superdome since 1995 when you, Coach Moore, coached the team, shaking his head over there, but it's been a long, long time since that happened.
That's right. Since Sean Payton and Drew Brees arrived in 2006, the series is all evened up. Here's a quick look back at some of those matchups. In just their second game with the Saints, Sean Payton and Drew Brees showed they could come from behind and win big games. Trailing Green Bay 14-0, Brees threw for 353 yards, and the Saints beat the Brett Favre-led Packers in 2006, 34-27. In 2008, fans were treated to an offensive explosion as the Saints routed Green Bay 51-29. Drew Brees threw 4 touchdown passes, but the game will be remembered most because popular running back Deuce McAllister became the team's all-time rushing touchdown leader. He surpassed Dalton Hilliard with his 54th career touchdown in the third quarter, and after the game, a young reporter was just as excited as the legendary running back.
It was special. It was definitely special.
All right, Deuce McAllister, we appreciate your time. We're friends, right?
Yeah, we are.
We're live on TV. Everybody in New Orleans is watching. On behalf of everybody in New Orleans, give you a quick hug. Congratulations, Deuce McAllister. In 2011, I could have given Mark Ingram a hug to console him after he was stuffed at the 1-yard line on 4th and goal, and the Saints lost to the Packers in Green Bay 42-34.
I remember going to Green Bay and losing on the goal line, so that's the biggest play that sticks out in my head from those Green Bay games.
And in 2012, Garrett Hartley missed a 48-yard field goal attempt at the end of the game, and the black and gold eventually lost to the Packers 28-27. All right, guys, it's time for predictions. I'll go first. I would like to pick the Saints, but I'm picking the Packers to win tonight. They're red hot. Final score, 34-24, Packers over New Orleans Saints. Sharif?
RELAX. Relax. Aaron Rodgers is relaxed, so I like the Packers 38-31. Coach?
Oh, you give me these relaxed things and all that kind of stuff. That's a bunch of baloney. Who's the best team on the field tonight? And I'm picking the Saints, 34-31. The Packers have won 5 games. Only one of those teams have a winning record. That's Miami. They got to 4-3 today. The rest of them have losing records. So I think tonight at home, desperate team, Saints are going to win.
All right, that wraps up our Cox Saints on 6 countdown to kickoff coverage. For Jim Mora and my colleague Sharif Ishak, thank you for watching. We'll see you right back here tonight after the game for complete post-game coverage.
Saints on 6 countdown to kickoff coverage on WDSU. Brought to you by Cox. Now available with 2 times faster internet speeds. Jefferson Parish Sheriff Newell Normand reminding you to drop that phone. Don't text and drive. Nissan. Choose Nissan.com. Al Sanchez Construction. Don't settle for being unleveled. The New Orleans Advocate. Get all your news delivered to your door 7 days a week. Fest Cola, New Orleans original craft soda, and
Dixie RV Superstores, helping you retire one weekend at a time.